So, welcome to the Women in Publishing Summit, another amazing panel of incredible women and writers here to talk about the power of our words today. This is such an important topic for me. I'm Alexa Bigwarf, your host, by the way, and this is a really, really important topic for me to cover because, as you may have noticed, our theme for this summit is changing the world with your words, making the world a better place through your writing. And my story began with the loss of one of my children, and that's when I started writing, and that's when I began sharing my story, and all of it kind of just got to where I am today with helping other people sharing their stories. So this whole idea that your words can be such a powerful force in other people's lives. And you'll hear from these women, they're all write about different topics and different things, but all of their writing is geared towards helping people make a change in their life, improve their lives, help them through a struggle, and those types of things. So welcome, ladies. I'm going to give all of you the opportunity to briefly introduce yourself. And if you would mention the title of your book, so that we know kind of where your writing goes to as we go through this. So, all right, we have a big group today, but we're going to make this an incredible session. Okay, Laura, we'll start with you.
Great. Thanks for having me, Alexa. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, excited to have you.
I'm a sociologist and an author of How to Raise Respectful Parents. But most importantly, my credential is I'm a mom of two young adult women who are awesome and powerful. We survived the teen years and are thriving now in our ability to relate to one another. And that was through a divorce and single parenthood. And my book is all about teen and parent communication. So it's a little bit autobiographical, but mainly it's about tools that you can use with your teen to be more relational and in so doing, help them be resilient in the world.
And I just want to say that as the mother of a tween and two girls following behind that already think they're teenagers, I can't think of anything more powerful than helping me communicate with my children so that we don't ruin each other's lives. So thank you very much for being here.
I'm excited about it.
All right, Carrie Jean Daniels, let's talk about you. Hello, welcome.
Yeah. Hi, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here. My book is called Glorified Unexpectations, and I have it right. This is a book about how when we experience something in life, whether it's challenging, joyous times, everything, it's unexpected. We go through unexpectations in life, and unexpectation is not a word. So when you read the book, you'll understand that it is. There's a secret in the book. So, but it's about my three children. I have three children, Jacob, Elijah, and my little Jaylyn is resting in the arms of Jesus. Mm-hmm. I wrote the book about faith, hope, and love, and how my children I came to know the Lord through my children, Jacob, Elijah, and Jaylyn. And so I'm just excited to share the book with you, to be here, to share tips and help you any way I can. And just thanks to Alexa for having this wonderful, wonderful opportunity for all of us.
Well, thank you. All right, Shu.
Hi, I'm Shu Allegra, and I'm an author, speaker, life coach, too many things. But my background is in mental health and disability services. And I have written a couple books on my own and co-authors a few more. But the one that I will focus more on today is the stress relief method. And in that book, I pretty much share my stories, how stress literally took me to the ground, like to to where I didn't even know if I was going to make it or live. And I use a lot of resources and tips that I have used myself, but also that are very scientifically based and theories that are out there in counseling that we use and help others, achieve their life, success in their life. And I use that with them through the books and give strategies to help people start really enjoying life and not letting stress take them to the ground like it did in my life. So thank you again for having me, and I look forward to the discussion here.
That's wonderful. I mean, the more research that comes out, the more we see how stress is detrimental to our lives. So yes, that's a powerful topic. Thank you for being here too. All right, now we move on to E. Claudette Freeman. Welcome.
Thank you. So I am a South Florida-based author, playwright, and publisher who works with authors who made a conscious decision to self-publish. And I am the author of 2 journal collections. Each have 3 different journals. And the journals came about because I kind of like Shu, I had this moment in my professional career where I was just fed up, and it seemed like my whole life was fed up as well. And sat down and realized how amazing all of these words I'd written over the years kind of saved me in that moment. And that's where these journals are born from.
I love that. I do a writing to heal class. I totally find writing to be the most cathartic, healing thing. Journaling is incredible. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And okay, so we're apparently having some technical problems. If Marietta pops back in here, we will add her back into the lineup. But Kimberly Klasnick, welcome. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I am a mother of 3 adult children and now a grandmother of a 7-month-old sweet little baby.
Nice.
I am more of a songwriter and now a writer of books. I have a CD that I will be offering to everyone during this session and, during the whole summit. And I started writing a long time ago, but I was kind of skittish about putting my words on paper and, always thinking of myself instead of thinking other people need to hear what we have to say. And so I am an international teacher. I teach English to Chinese students. So I decided to give it a go and write a children's book first because I love hanging out with the kids all day, my grandchild now. And so I wrote a small book. And it's called Chen Chen's Adventures in English. And in the meantime, I have been writing a huge book. I have 2 manuscripts ready to go. One about being an actor and an entertainer outside of New York and Hollywood. Everyone thinks that you have to be in those places to work as an actor or an entertainer. Well, I live in South Carolina, not much going on here.
I did not realize you were in South Carolina. Me too. We'll talk about that later.
Of course. And so from this tiny place in South Carolina, I've just, been able to change my mindset. I had written in my bio about coming up and I grew up in the projects and some lower socioeconomic and domestic violence, which I plan to write on that someday. I'm just not ready. But right now, what I really want to put out next is my book, All Roads Lead to Gratitude, because mindset is everything.
Yes.
So our words are powerful to others, so we need to make sure that we're speaking the proper words to ourselves as well. So that's kind of where my focus is right now.
Absolutely. I think the coolest thing about this panel is that you can see everybody comes to it from a different perspective, a different topic, but everybody needs all of the things that well, maybe not everybody, but there are lots of people who need all of the things that each of us is talking about. And our words, a lot of people, speaking of mindset, get very, very wrapped up in the idea that no one's going to read their book or that it's not going to help anyone or, I'm going to put this out there and I'm going to be judged. I just kind of would like, while we're talking about mindset and these things, I'd like to kind of do a circle here and ask all of you if you suffered any of these fears as you were getting ready to put your books out there. Laura.
Absolutely, every day still.
Well.
And next. Doesn't matter what you feel, do it anyway, you know?
Right.
And that has been so gratifying. Right after my divorce, I did a writing meditation class, if you will. It was an online webinar. And the facilitator posed this wonderful question. If only one person read your book, would it be worth it to write? Mm-hmm. And I made the decision, yes. Not only was it hopefully therapeutic for me and triumphant for me to get ideas down on paper about communication, which I think is just vital. It's so much of how we mirror love and self-esteem to one another, whether it's in the parent-child relationship or elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And so it was, yes, important to do it for me therapeutically, but it was also really important that if it was of service to one, that was enough.
Yeah.
And I would then learn later, yes, about marketing, and yes, about putting myself out there, and, you know, doing the little positive self-talk and coaching through the process, and the spiritual alignment and prayer and whatever other pieces I do to get it together. But it was really important to just say yes, you know, to say yes to the opportunity to do it, and hopefully be of service. And if I keep that focus on service, I don't get so scared and wrapped up about, you know, whether it's hitting home, how many I'm selling. And thankfully, though, I've been on the top 10 list of its category on Amazon for over 2 years now. So
that's great.
It's worked so far.
That's awesome. All right, Carrie Jean, what about you?
Yeah, it was an incredible, it was hard for me at first. I mean, I'm in the medical field. I was a court reporter. And it was just, it came all of a sudden that, you know, I was to write a book. My husband had a dream. The night I had written 2 words, glorified on expectations, in the middle of the night. And I just was like, where did that come from? And I wrote those down. And then all of a sudden my husband comes to me the next day and said, I had a dream. We were in the basement of the hospital, and we did not go through all this for nothing. And I thought, well, there's got to be a purpose. And, you know, with our power of our words, I learned that as I began writing, I've been journaling. And like you said earlier, journaling is therapeutic. It is so therapeutic. And I had been journaling for 19 years.
Wow.
And I heard, and this is one where you think, does this really happen? And yes, it does. I heard you have a story to be written. A story is being written. Your life is your story. And it has to be written. Get it out of your head and get it onto paper. And I said, I don't know how to do that. I mean, it was a conversation between God and me, and I'm not the only one that wrote the book. It was him and I.
Yeah. And
he said, you need to just trust me. It's already written. Let's write the story. Let's help people. Let's get it out there, and let's make a difference. And that took everything I had. I didn't know how to write a book, but I learned, and it has been it has been so healing to me, just to share, to keep my daughter's memory alive. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You don't have to apologize in this crowd, I assure you.
To keep my daughter's memory alive, and knowing that there are women out there that they too have a story to share, and it's waiting to be heard. It's waiting to be heard, and then we can help each other. And I'm just so excited that this is the path that God chose for me, to be a published author and to help other women.
It is powerful, the impact that we're able to have on people through all of our messages and through the things that we help them through. So, Shu, did you suffer with any of the mindset or fear about getting it out there? Were you just ready to go?
Oh boy, I was still like Laura. Yes, every time, and still going through it. Yeah. And I think, for me especially, like, being a counselor and a therapist, so I'm used to doing a little one-on-one work, and in that field, there's not much self-disclosure. We're actually even not encouraged to disclose our lives, because there's a whole, hierarchy. Like, I'm the therapist and you're the client, and I don't like that, And so even the way I was operating already before I wrote the book was different. But now it wasn't just that one person that was in the session with me. That's not just the small group that I'm doing group therapy with. Now it's the whole world will know that, yes, I'm up here doing all this therapy, doing counseling, and everybody knows me, as an expert in my field. But I'm literally, I'm crashing down. I have to deal with my own emotions through the stress of, being a single mom, going through divorce, and raising kids with special needs, and then myself going through, having a stroke. It's like,
oh my goodness,
crashing down, like literally. So people just they see you as a professional, forget that you have a life. And I think the more I realized that, there's more people like me who have it all together, or people think we have it all together. I don't have it all together, right? People think we have it all together, and we don't. I might, share my brilliance in one level, but the rest of my life could be struggling.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that encouraged me to write the book. You know, I knew that, like Laura said, even if I could touch one more life, just one person can realize that they can let the guards down. It's okay to get help. It's okay to, you know, reach out to others when life is getting overwhelming. And it's amazing how, you know, when I took that step of faith and say, I'm going to do it for the one person that I might never see in my counseling session, the one person I might never see on my online group. And once I did that, it's amazing how the stories keep coming, you know, back. And sometimes it's someone who had the book who read even just a paragraph to their husband, and they're both crying and email you later. I'm like, that's why I wrote that book, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, do it scared, do it because the world needs it.
Wow, Shu, there's a lot more to your story than I even knew. Oh my goodness. Claudette, what did you experience through this?
For me, I've always written since I was young, but I think the power of the words came from me when, as I mentioned, I was going through something professionally, and I remember driving home and I'd listen to all of these voice messages from my boss, and they were just totally berating me, and it had been a year of just constant stuff on the job. And so I remember pulling into a Burger King parking lot because I didn't want to go home in tears to my boys again.
Oh.
Because it had gotten to the point where this was happening so often that when I came in the door, they were automatically in comfort mode. Mm-hmm. And I decided that night that I wasn't going home that way again. So I'm sitting in the parking lot crying, and I called another boss from the job and I said, listen, I don't want to do this anymore. And I think, unfortunately, she thought I was contemplating suicide, but it wasn't that serious. But I went home. She said, take a few days, just kind of pull it together. Got up the next morning, pulled out all of these poems just based on, okay, I'm going to get some files together, and literally realized that everything that I had written over the years, whether it was poetry or fiction or something, was speaking to me clearly in that moment. Mm-hmm. And so in that moment, words that I had written years ago were giving me clarity and direction. Mm-hmm. And asking me, begging me to find my purpose. Mm-hmm. And so when I write, that's where my focus is. Okay, am I finding my purpose? Because if I find my purpose, if I talk to my pain, if I push through my pain, then whoever is supposed to get what I write will get it. And I had to convince myself, and I've had to teach my clients this, that everybody's not going to get what you write, but what you write is not for everybody to get. But the person that is for will absolutely find you, and your words will impact them the way that it's supposed to.
That's so true. So true. So then I'm just curious now. I have to dig into this a little bit further. Sorry. We'll get back to you in a second, Kimberly and Marietta. So at what point in time did you just decide on a leap of faith, okay, I'm done working for other people, I'm going to start my own publishing company, or did that come after you started writing?
You know, the funny thing, I left that job in 2007. And I started the publishing company, and it was doing well for a few years, but I was overwhelmed because I realized that a lot of my type A professional personality stuff I carried with me into the business. And so I thought I had to do everything myself.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And so I went back to work for a couple of years, and then decided, you know what, this is going to drive me crazy because this is so not in line with who I am. I don't get to be creative here. I don't get to have those engaging moments with my words as much as I want to. I don't get to be that midwife and be sitting in that seat when someone starts giving birth. And I just had to face the fact that whatever challenges come on the other side of that, I'm operating in what I'm supposed to be operating in. And it's scary sometimes, but there is an absolute power that comes through our words. It's a spiritual thing. It's an emotional awakening. It's an intellectual reckoning. So I don't see me going back to work ever again for anybody else. Ever.
And there's the power of your words right there.
Right there.
Kimberly, what about you? What struggles did you have?
Lots of struggles with insecurity. So, but what I found was that action always cures those fears. So once you start that process and you start writing, and then you'll sneak and share it with somebody, and they'll say, "Oh, I really needed to hear that." So that gives you the confidence. And then I read the other day somewhere that the best book to write is the one that you need to read.
Absolutely.
Right.
So that when I started writing the gratitude book that I'm almost finished with now, it's really something that I need to focus on. I have several steps in there that each day for things that happen to you that can just, that I used to let ruin my day because of how I was brought up. I would respond that way. So I started writing that book, and then I wrote more songs. I'm finishing up a song in the studio tomorrow called I Depend on You, and it's a Christian song. So I'm super excited about that. And once I got the courage to start putting that stuff out there, it's amazing that you're kind of nervous about it, but when you take that step, other people are watching you and they're thinking, well, heck, she did it. I can do it too. So you're giving people the power in themselves by watching you, and they think that maybe they can try it too. So that's what encourages me a lot. I work with a lot of young singers at my church, and I get really excited because I'm like, look, I don't have the prettiest voice, but I'm going to use it. God gave me this voice, so he can laugh all he wants. But so they are bold because I'm bold. And I think that's what we can do with our stories, with our books, and so many different ways. You're allowing people to be courageous because you went before them and did it, just like the people that went before us. And so every time I think, oh, I don't want to write this, I think, well, what if J.K. Rowling said, well, this might not be very good. Danielle Steele, any of the greats,
Right.
What if they just were like, nah, I'm not going to put this one out there. So I try to get myself in that frame of mind and think they started here too.
Yeah,
And we
absolutely.
can too, and you never know where it will go. So you just have
That's a very healthy way to look at it. I like that. I like that. Marietta, welcome. I'm glad you were able to make it back in with us.
Oh boy.
Technology, it can be our biggest friend or our worst nightmare.
Oh, brother.
Well, you didn't get a chance to introduce yourself, so if you would please tell us what you write about, what your book is, who you are, a little bit about you.
Okay, I'm Marietta Grant Silvera. I'm a Jamaican. I have written 2 books, none of them published as yet. The first one I started writing is Comfort Through Adversity, because I had been through so much. And I used to, as a child, when I was troubled, when we had problems, or when I just wanted to get away, I would climb a tree and start writing poetry. So it is, it is a book on poetry, but each poem is a story. So it's like a story poem. And having gone through it, I came along some coaching, some training that said that poetry doesn't sell. And and it's an inspirational book. It's really spiritual. So I said, okay, I'll give this book away because I really think it would be helpful to persons. And I started writing Bounce Back from Setbacks. And I had called it Bounce Back from Setbacks, and my girlfriend thought I should just put Bounce Back. And then I had that at the bottom of my signature, my email signature, and I found that one of the persons who is leading online, she wrote a book called Bounce Back, and I said, okay, I'll go back to Bounce Back from Setbacks, and I'll make sure that I will publish it quickly. About my life, I started off as a programmer analyst and was very good at it. And then my first child was born. And we had a Hurricane Gilbert hit us in September when my son was just touched 7 months. And we recovered. I was in Kingston at that time, so we recovered pretty quickly. And I started going back out to work in the evenings. I started teaching in the evenings. I had basically left my daytime job because of the amount of stress that was involved. And my first child started having breath holding spells. I didn't want him to become a crib death. So I resigned. I stayed at home for a while. And then I started going out in the evenings during October, thereabout. So my son was like about 9 months old at that time. And I had a helper come in. And I had a morning class, which was unexpected. And I went out to the class and went through the day, taught my evening classes. And when I got back home, only to find that the helper nearly drowned my baby. And she put the child in the bath pan, had him outside because he loves water. And she had him outside there splashing. My mom had recently retired. She was a retired nurse. And she was watching her normal morning comedies. And she just heard the splashing stop. So she went outside and she didn't see the baby and she just didn't feel right. So she looked through the kitchen window. She didn't see the baby. So she went outside and found the baby face down in the bath.
Oh my God.
Blue.
Oh my gosh.
So she dragged him out, put up her leg on the kitchen step and turned him upside down. She pumped him out and she started giving him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. And that was my first child. I just stayed home. I just thought I was going to lose my baby, and I stayed home to take care of him myself. So I started working on it. I started working on my books, and I had a girlfriend who's in Canada who we were like twins, and she insisted that I should get writing and write all these horrible experiences that I've been having in story form. So I did that. I started doing that, but the experiences that I had in Linstead were so traumatic that I had to find a way to get over it and get on with life and to be resilient, you know? So there came comfort through adversity, where I looked at other people's pain and addressed it. It's really based on Matthew 5. Blessed are the meek, blessed are they that mourn, blessed are all the persons who these horrible things happen to. How can you be blessed? That's basically the question that the book answers. How can you be blessed? And the answer really is that when we go through stuff, it's for a reason. It's not an accident. It's not a coincidence. We often go through stuff because of our deepest fears. I was really very afraid of rejection. All these experiences, all these experiences cured that, literally. I now, and I was one of those persons who, if someone said something critical of me, I went around asking everybody, do you think that I'm like this? Do you think that I've gotten over that. I need to be comfortable that I am who I am. Right. And where I fall short, then I take the steps to become who I want to be. So the power of words was a very interesting topic for me because words can build you up, strengthen you, comfort you, motivate your success, or they can just tear you down and crumple you right down to the ground.
Absolutely. Well, you know, and so many people go through so many really life-changing events that are just that do exactly that tear you down, and then you have to build yourself back up again. Yeah. Which I feel like people who are watching this interview are hoping to write a book that's super powerful and that can change lives. And I think coming to terms with our own stories and being able to wrap ourselves around that, and then seeing how can we help others through our situation with Laura. It was battling communications with her daughters, and with Shu it was a stroke from stress, and you know, all of these different things that lead us to write our books. So I guess I would ask everyone if you could, we're getting short on time here, but if you could briefly maybe walk through a point, 2, 3 tips that you might offer, 1 or 2 tips. Actually, we probably need to keep it down to that, on the person who is going to take their words and make a book that they hope will powerfully influence around them, what are some of the best 2 tips that you can give them to do that? And we'll go in the same order if that's all right with everyone. Laura?
Right.
That's a big one.
That's a big one. You know, it's because of fear. We've talked a little bit about that today, right? You can study, you can prepare, you can do the webinars, you can figure out what niche you need, and all of that's really, really, really important to map your book properly. And there's some great helps out there, and I know the Summit is available with multiple resources to do all of that. But bottom line is, as one of my writing coaches talked about, butt in chair time. Writing is probably the most important thing, and it can be so intimidating, you know, to get started, but just get started. So the best advice I have to authors or potential authors is to sit down and write and let go of that inner critic, you know. Yeah. Get it down on paper first. Rough drafts count. It doesn't have to be the final draft, but get it all down there. And it's amazing how that intention snowballs, and you can have a finished product by the end of it. I actually took a trip and wrote my book in 2 weeks. Just by getting away from my setting. It was just a great way for me to try to write. So
I always get so jealous of people who say that. I wrote my book at 5 o'clock in the morning when the kids were still asleep.
Really? A lot of my editing happened like that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Carrie Jean, what's your top 1 or 2 tips?
Well, what I would, you know, just being an author, a published author, and not even knowing that I was going to be. First, I understand that, you know, I have a message too that once, you know, we can plan and we can give 100% of what we want to become. But if it's not already ordained in the beginning by God, and He's the one that's gonna continually to tell you this is what you need to do. And that's what He did in my life with the book and my ministry. That what came from the book, a ministry was born, which was Carrie Daniels Ministry. I didn't really talk about much about that, but I have a tip for everyone, and they say don't forget the past, just go forward. Well, sometimes we have to go back to the past to see that God was there and that He was writing something that was going, that right now, everybody listening, that if you want to write a story, do it. Get it out of your head and onto paper. And how one of the tips I just did some, you know, creativity, do this fun thing is go to, it's a motivational tool. It's a visual tool. Go to your local dollar store, get some picture frames. Take a Sharpie and write on the glass, and a little message, I can do this. And then put a picture of what you want to write about. If you have it in your head, you know what you want to write about. Put it in the frame and put the frames everywhere in your house, wherever you go, in your kitchen, in your bathroom, in your bedroom, and you see that, and it motivates you to say, I can do this. There's something that has to happen. I have to start writing this, because it's hard to sit down and think, okay, how am I going to begin this? But with this summit and with everyone's story and women coming together, sharing their stories, this is what it's all about. It's about coming together, sharing our story, and helping each other.
Yeah, I agree.
And whatever tips that we have, you know, there's another tip of getting an audio recorder and recording your voice. Act like you're in an interview. What's your name? What is your book about? Write the questions down, then read them. And I did this. Because I didn't know how to write a book, and I thought, well, I'm gonna go on this journey here. I got my video recorder, started just taping my message, and then I transcribed it. I just listened to it back, and it became okay. This is getting clear to me how to write. You know, just start with the basics, your introduction, and then it'll form. The story will come out of your head, and you'll get it onto paper.
Transcription
So
can be a
those
really powerful tool with helping you to get words from your mouth and out and spoken. That's a great tip.
Yeah, it's brought me so much healing, and emotionally,
absolutely.
physically, spiritually, and mentally.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. All right, Shu, do you have a tip or two for us?
Yeah, I think along with Laura, just right. And for me, it's back when I guess I hit rock bottom. It was November 22, 2017. I realized if I had died that day, how many people would have died with me? And I was listening to Les Brown way later, and that's kind of where I got, I hit home. It's, so many of us sit on the dreams, sit on those books, and we sit on everything else we want to accomplish in this world. We all want to, make an impact and make a difference, but then we sit on it. And then we don't realize the longer we wait, the others who are hurting because we are not taking action.
Yes.
So from that, honestly, my whole perspective, my whole mindset changed. It's like, even if you say, if I can get that draft done, the first draft, if I can, speak it and get it transcribed, no matter what, it needs to come out. It needs to get out so that at least one more life can be saved.
Yeah.
So stop procrastinating and just get it done, because people need you. And don't die with your dreams. Don't wait when it enters too late. Just start writing.
That's such an excellent point. Claudette.
So I would say when you write, remember to hold your time with your words sacred, and then write like a boldly curious child with unhindered imagination. See everything you write with wonder. And then my other tip would be, don't confine your writing to the thing that it originally presents itself as. So it may originally come out as a book, but look for other opportunities for your words to reach the ones that it's supposed to reach. So maybe your book is supposed to become a play. Maybe you're supposed to use the lessons learned in your book to become a coach or to start a podcast. So use your book as a starting mechanism for for another way your words can manifest. It may be doing regular little sessions in a coffee house where you're helping people just learn to write and to heal and to refocus through their stories. And if I could just throw in one more real quickly, I have to say this. Rewriting and revising are not curse words.
Right.
They really are the opportunity to find little missing gems in your work. So don't look at it as a bad thing.
I agree with you 100%. But I also agree with people that say get that first draft out there without trying to rewrite and revise, because you'll never finish it. You'll never finish it. That's great advice. I love the idea of coming together too, just to piggyback on what you said there, the idea of coming together with a group in a coffee shop or something like that. I think that this is something a lot of writers overlook. They write in solitude or in isolation, and there's a lot of power from getting together with other people and getting feedback or getting, bouncing ideas off of each other and things like that. That was a great tip. And when I haven't
sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
No, just think with the coffee shop idea, check your local libraries. And in my area, like almost every library have like a writing group that meets once or twice a month. It's totally free. You get a whole community of friends who are doing the exact same thing. We critique each other's work, we share opportunities, writing opportunities, publishing opportunities. It's awesome. And it's within your community. So you're getting to know more people doing the exact same thing.
Fantastic. Kimberly.
And just to piggyback off of that, surrounding yourself with like-minded people who are doing things that you want to do or that you are doing, so that you're not getting the naysayers. Oh, someone said to me the other day, how many people do you think would read that? And I was like, so don't go around most people, I started a company called Be a Star Wherever You Are because I wanted to encourage people to know that, you know, you are usually where you're supposed to be in life. I feel like God called me to be here. We're all called to be together right now. So your story is important. So know that whatever has happened to you or whatever you're going through now, just let your light shine wherever you are. And one of the other tips that I thought was really valuable for me in all of my writing is just write as if you're telling your story to a friend. It's so easy when you're just almost like you're writing a letter about what happened or what's going to happen. So that's what I would encourage people to do, because for me and my son that is writing a book, it's so helpful just to start writing it down, like, hey guys, this and then try that, you know, and then you can always go back. We're so stuck in that mindset of what we were taught in middle school English that everything has to be written like that term paper or whatever. But what the most exciting stories to me are the ones that are written from the perspective of you're telling me what happened to you, and it's so engaging. So just when you sit down to write, just pretend you're writing a letter, and before you know it, you've got a book on your hands. So that's what I have.
That's right. And don't be worried about just to go off of that, you know, I hear a lot of people say, well, I'm not a very good writer. Well, that's what editors are for. So just get your story out there. Somebody else can perfect it. All right, Marietta.
Be yourself. And be the change you want to be. If you're speaking to your readers and you're trying to effect change in your readers and to help them to grow, you also need to grow, because guess what? You're your best brand. You are your best brand. And so you got to be the change that you want to be and the change that you want to effect. As far as the naysayers are concerned, you have got to get away from toxic people. You may have to just develop a mindset where their statements bounce off you. But you've got to crush your negative beliefs. Am I good enough? Who's going to listen to me? Is this, you know, people say these things to you. Who do you think you are to be writing this? And who is going to listen to you? You know, each person is special. And if you focus on what is special about you and what is different about you, and you hone those skills and you share it with others, many people will benefit from you. And the last tip is to speak to grow your self-confidence. If you hear something often enough, you believe it. Is that really true? How am I really? And speak how you really are. Speak what it really is. I am strong. I am different. I am creative.
I appreciate that very much. Those affirmations, the power of your words right there. I mean, Kimberly opened it up with that whole idea that the way we speak to ourselves and about ourselves and those positive affirmations really, really make a big difference. So, I mean, we've taken the power of our words and played with it a little bit from different perspectives here. But I would say the concluding insight that I have is that we have the opportunity to change people's lives with our words. So that is pretty much the most powerful thing out there. So don't get caught up in your own fear. Write the stories, share the stories, get them out there. Somebody needs it. Somebody needs it. I just want to thank all of you for being here. This was a really, really, you are an amazing group of women with such incredible backgrounds. We will be sharing all about all of you with our audience. So just really quickly, in case they don't have time to scroll through everybody's bios, because it's a lot of content, can you just quickly go through and let people know your website so they can know where to find you the easiest? Laura.
LauraLReagan.com. And there's a gift for you on there too.
Awesome. Thank you. Carrie?
Yes, hi. My website is Kerri, Kerri Daniels, Daniels, ministries.com.
Awesome.
And it's
thanks.
sharing Christ and encouraging women.
Wonderful. Thank you. Shu?
My website is graceandhopeconsulting.com. And the word "and" is spelled out A-N-D.
Perfect. Yep. Thank you. And Claudette.
So you can find me on one of two sites. You can find me at eclaudetteliterary.com, or you can find me at pecantreebooks.com.
Love it. Thank you. Kimberly.
I am at Kimberly Ann Klasnick. Oh, can you see that?
Got it. Yeah.
.com, or beastarwhereveryouare.com. That's more comprehensive about speaking and telling your story. Beastarwhereveryouare.com.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you. Marietta.
I'm currently building my website,
Okay.
motivatedtosoar.com.
Love
That's www.motivated2soar.com. And you can always drop me a mail at motivatedtosoar@gmail.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, ladies. I really appreciate it. I feel uplifted after here. I mean, wow, you guys, you collectively have gone through quite a lot, and and it's a pleasure to be here and see you shine, despite what has happened in your lives. So thank you so much.